Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Sarah Liz, and I'm so excited you're here. Happy New Year to you. I have so many new things to share with you in this new year. The first one that I want to share is something that I like to call an emergency card. For years, I have been keeping emergency cards in my stash. They look like this. And they don't have a sentiment on them. There is a place for a sentiment, but otherwise the card is fairly generic, right? And then if something comes up and I didn't know, or I forgot, or I just need a last minute card for something, I have a bunch of cards in my stash that all have space for the same size sentiment. I have 3 trays of this size full of sentiments and another handful of files on my computer for sentiments. And then that way I can mix and match, and these each fit onto my cards. Sometimes I've also included like a little, I think that's Stick It, so I can just peel it off and it's quick and ready to go. I keep those at work. So if I have like a work friend that has a birthday and I didn't know, I'm ready to go. I sometimes sell these at craft fairs, and the number one piece of feedback I hear from people is that they're card makers too, and what a great idea that is, and they should do that for their cards. So I thought this year I would make things a little easier for everyone and create a series on YouTube. Every month I will come out with a new set of sentiments and a new card layout for your emergency cards. So this month, I am determined to build up my stash of birthday cards. I am really bad at birthday cards. So all of the sentiments here are birthday related. We've got some generic happy birthdays in different fonts and styles, some sweet ones, and then we've also got some nice and sassy ones. These will probably be used first in my life. These are 1 3/4 of an inch, and you can punch them out either with a punch or with a die. The circle around them is a little bit bigger than 1 3/4, so the circle doesn't show when you cut them out. At the end of the video, I will tell you how you can download these sentiments for free. And then we will be making this card layout. It's a fun fold card, but it's really, really easy. The card itself is a 3x5, and our sentiment hangs off the edge just a little bit, okay? I'll show you a bunch of examples on how to change it up a little bit, make it a little bit different. This is also included in the free sentiment printables. You'll be able to find it on my website, and you'll find it in the YouTube description below with instructions on how to get this free printable. So let's get started. To make today's card, we're going to start with an A2 sized piece of cardstock. This measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. It's not a card, it is just a card front. Next, we're looking at this matte layer that's in black, and that is going to be 3x5. Okay, and that's going to sit right to the left side, and we'll have equal margins all the way around. Then we have our patterned paper, or you could use embossed paper or something else that creates a little interest on your card, and that's going to be 2 3/4 by 4 3/4, and it's going to sit right here. I want to let you know that this is perfect for using your 6x6 patterned paper. Okay, so what I did is I took my 6x6 and I cut it like this, and I easily get 2 card fronts out of this. Sometimes I will choose to use what I call like a hero paper, something that brings enough interest that it really makes the card. For me, this is a hero paper. This was left over from Spellbinder's card kit. It's got a little gold foil in it, and I just love that. But I will show you examples later of what you can do to spice this up if you are using something that's a little more neutral. I think it's great for masculine cards when we use something a little more muted. Next, we're going to create a place for our sentiment And I have used a 2-inch circle punch to create my circle here, but you could certainly use a die if that's what you have. This is all of the decorative pieces for our card, but we have to make the card itself as well. So let me show you how. I have a piece of white cardstock that measures 6 inches by 5 inches, and you'll note down on your printable, it's going to tell you how to make this card base. And I am going to score this in half at 3 inches. And that creates our card base. So all I have to do now is assemble. When I'm using a thin pattern paper like this one, I like to use a tape runner to make sure you can't see my glue and little bumps behind it. I'm just going to use this purple piece so it's a little easier to see against my dark background. And I am looking to create an equal border on all of those sides. Okay. Next, I'm going to add this to my card front. Whenever I can, I like wet glue. It's cheaper than tape runner and it gives me a little bit of wiggle room so I can get a perfect fit on my card. And sometimes my measurements are just a little off, right? So right here, I have a little bit of that white cardstock sticking out and I don't want that. So I'm going to trim it off. Then I will add my card base onto my A2 panel. And again, I'm just leaving an equal border on each side. And then I'm going to add the spot for my sentiment right here. When you're doing this, only add glue to half of it or you're going to glue your card shut. And I like to put my fingers at the top and bottom there so I know exactly where my glue is when I go to set that down. And that's my emergency card. It is good to go. When it comes to using the sentiments, I print mine out on 80-pound hammer mill cardstock, but check your printer. Not all printers can handle the same weight of cardstock. A 65-pound would work as well, right? Like we've got layers here, so you don't really need to worry about it being super, super thick. Anything heavier than standard printer paper is probably okay. And I'm going to figure out which sentiment I want. And I can just cut along between them. And I like to use a 1 3/4 inch circle punch. I got mine on Amazon. This is the EK Success brand. I think I have 4 of these. They're in like every room of my house. So you just slide to unlock them. And I can line this up and I'm just trying to make it so I can't see that black circle, and then I'll know that I have it centered. This is one of my favorites. It says, rude that you're younger than me, but okay. Okay, and then I would just add that to my card. Some of these are printed so that they overhang the circle to create a sort of background pattern. But you'll notice when you go to punch those out, that just creates a really lovely background there for you. So don't worry about the fact that they're overhanging a little bit. The other thing that you can do is that you can foil them. I used a laser printer here. If you don't have a laser printer, you can go to like the UPS store and they can print it for you. It's fairly inexpensive. And then I ran it through my laminator with some deco foil. And I love that foil for this card in particular because I've got the foil and the pattern paper, right? So they coordinate really nicely. I want to show you some variations on this template. I knew I was making this video, so yesterday I spent maybe an hour and a half putting together a bunch of cards using this layout and sometimes changing it up. So this is nearly the same card, but instead I've cut out my pattern paper at a 3x5 and instead added a mat to the back layer. For this one, I've used a mama elephant. I can't remember what they call this. It's like a layering scallop, right? So there's 3 dies and it's a little bigger than our 2-inch, but that's okay, right? The 2-inch is sort of a starting point to create a mat, but whatever you have that might fit here, go for it. See what it looks like. This one, instead of using a hero paper, this is like, I think it's Lawn Fawn, a really generic sort of masculine almost paper. And to dress it up, I added a few die cuts from Altenew. And it's a little understated, a little elegant, and I think there are so many occasions that you could use this for. Every month I'll come out with a different set of sentiments. Certainly you could use something like this as a sympathy card, not just a birthday card or a congratulations, a happy anniversary, anything like that. And then this is just another variation on that because that 6x6 pattern paper is perfect to make 2 cards at once. Here, again, I've used a really sort of muted background paper and I added a little die cut. I didn't glue his ear down so that I could tuck the sentiment right underneath it. This one maybe needs something else, like maybe a treetop or something at the top, but I might play with that later. For this one, okay, this is for sure a hero paper, and I love mixing really organic shapes with more geometric shapes. So I used some nesting hexagons, and that is just big enough that that 2-inch circle is going to fit there. I'll link those hexagons below. I made a couple cards using this design. So here I wanted a thinner mat. So instead of using our 1/4 inch measurements here, I added an extra 1/8 of an inch to each of these. All right. So play with it. See what you want to do. There's also that 1/8 of an inch of mat along the outside as well. I don't know if you can see that. This one, I kept this one super simple. I wanted to play with this one. You look great for your age. How much did you pay Satan? But because there's red on the sentiment, I was like, let's make a red card. And I've used some glossy black cardstock and then just some red pattern paper to make my card there. Let me know if you are interested in a version of the sentiment sheet that doesn't have the circle around the outside. If you are using a 3/4 inch die or punch, I think that circle is really helpful to help you center it up. But if you're using one that's slightly larger, it might be helpful not to have that. So let me know, and I can certainly add that to the PDF. If you're interested in this free download, all I ask is that you subscribe to my channel. It is linked in the description box below, all the way at the very bottom. I look forward to a new set of emergency cards and sentiments next month, and I will see you there. Thank you for joining me.